We'll be in this space to the end of the year. Currently, we have 21 Dreams is the resident arts organization in the space, and we have RC Hagen, which is the resident artist in this space. And so what you see in this space is RC's work, who will also be working with this year's international artist, Monkey Bird, that'll be here in November. So RC will be working with Monkey Bird, and 21 Dreams is this show that we have here is called The Great Imagination, exploring imagination, futurism, and those themes. And so that's what you see in this show. I think we have 12 to 13 artists represented here, all Alabama artists. As far as we went for this show was Birmingham, so Montgomery and Birmingham, primarily the artists that are in this particular show. So that's a little bit about the space. Going forward, we'll be curating programming, artist talks like this one. This kicks off a series which we'll call Art Chat GPT, as in Good People Tribe. The art and business, this particular talk, is in celebration of Black Business Month. And so I thought it was important that we highlight some of the entrepreneurs, the creative entrepreneurs that are doing the work here, speak about their journey, their challenges, things that would be important for those that are thinking about the journey themselves or on that journey, actively on that journey. So I'll do some brief introductions. To the right of me, is Kevin King. Kevin is a native of Mobile. Kevin is a native of Mobile, Alabama. The visionary and executive director of the King's Canvas Studio and Gallery. He's also an artist first, executive director second. Wonderful friend of mine. Alanna Dennis, I call her Monique. So if I say Monique or Mo in the conversation, just it's out of habit. Alanna is the owner of Alanna's Gourmet, which is say catering, but there's catering. There's so much like private chef, culinary classes, like the whole gamut. And it is beautiful to watch her journey because a lot like mine, we started in IT and then moved back to what we were most passionate about. She also has a degree in culinary arts. Tell me, it is the
Cordon Bleu Culinary Arts.
Grab that mic.
It is Le Cordon Bleu Culinary Arts.
Cordon Bleu Culinary Arts degree. Yes, so she has a culinary arts degree. She was also a software engineer. I don't know how many years ago, but she invited me to be a part of this movement that she wanted to do with this old church that was your grandfather's church? Mm-hmm. So grandfather's church, west side of Montgomery, at that time it was West Jeff Davis Street, is now West Fred Gray. Was it what is the address?
142 West Jeff Davis. 142 West Fred D. Gray Avenue.
Okay, yes. 142 West Fred D. Gray Avenue.
Yes.
So she invited me to be a part of what she wanted to do in that space. It was called Pure Artistry Literary Cafe. Mm-hmm. Launched various programs out of that space. We had a wonderful time with that. So now she runs Alanna's Gourmet. Kick it over to Terrence Baldwin. I met Terrence through Culture Shock first. Culture Shock was him and his partner Jamal. Tell me exactly what Culture Shock was. And this was how many years ago?
Long time ago. Probably like 2005, 2006. It was a webisode, and we just had the idea of capturing all things culture around Montgomery, whether it was events, arts, artistry, and we made these little webisodes way before our time, I think. But you know, that's same with sliced bread now.
That's right. I think that was kind of like the emergence, because I think I had just started doing sliced bread, and then I ran on Culture Shock, and then we did a show together or something.
Yes,
yeah.
Fun time.
Yeah. So we met back in, what you said, 2006, something like that.
Yeah.
2005, 6. So Terrence is a musician. He is the owner of MEOW Academy and also MEOW Cares, the foundation. He is the visionary and the lead for the Sold Out band. All right, so introductions and all of that stuff is out the way. I'm gonna start from the top. Now, one of the people that I wanted to have part of this conversation, Boyd Stevens, who at least 3 of us I know before we started our entrepreneur journey, we went to his class. I think we were all in class. Myself, Kevin, and Monique, Alanna, was in the was in the class together before we started any of our businesses. All right. So my first question, since Boyd wasn't able to be here today, is from our brother Boyd Stevens. Let's see which one I wanted to go with. All right, so can you share, I might have to put on my glasses. Can you name or share anything outside of your business experience that you actually prepared for, oh, sorry, hold on.
Where your glasses at?
I know, God, I might have to go get it. Hold on, I got it. No, I got it. Hold on. I'm gonna cut this out.
You old when you gotta hold
Calm down. Can you name or share anything outside of your business experience that actually prepared you for the rejection, the feelings of isolation, and the perpetual failures that you experienced while in business? Did any of your education, schooling, family members assist in any way in this area? How do you personally cope with these types of mental stresses and pressure?
Ooh, that's a lot.
That's
man.
a loaded one. You know, this is from Brother Boyd now.
Yeah.
So in short,
You said
kind
in
of think
short.
about that.
Okay.
In short, was there anything that prepared you for the rejection, the isolation, the challenges of going into business?
I guess I would say prior to starting the King's Canvas, at that time I had about 12 years of nonprofit experience, and being an African American man who was a social director of a it was a small organization, but to be grassroots, it was a lot bigger than what people would expect. My counterpart was white, and we went in and we did some cool stuff on the west side of Montgomery, but I think there was a lot of rejection because our donor base at that time was probably 90% white, maybe even 95. And so there was a lot of rejection based on the assumption of who I potentially was, because there was no relational connection between me and a lot of the donors. And because I wasn't necessarily the face of the organization, I think that was a lot of issues surrounding, I guess I would say questioning my ability to lead, but that was solely based on stereotypes. And obviously, years later, even by the time I left, all of that had been debunked. But initially, it's like we don't get the benefit of the doubt on the front end. Mm-hmm. It's almost like we go into situations having to prove ourselves, even though I don't feel like I have to prove anything. But before you gain people's trust and before you get credibility, you sometimes are looked at like, okay, I'm skeptical of you, and I'm gonna see how this goes, and if you do good, we'll accept you, but we don't accept you on the front end. Now, I never cared about any of that, but as far as the preparation for rejection is concerned, I think that kind of prepared me.
So what you're saying is when you started the King's Canvas.
By the time the King's Canvas started, I had taken boards class. And because I had taken boards class, I was kind of better informed on the whole what we call customer discovery. And I had to transform my mind and realize, okay, the artists who are involved in the King's Canvas are what we call users, not in a bad way, but users, because they're the ones who are actually using the product or services that we have available. But I had to transition my mind to understand that the customers were actually the donors. And so my question was, what problem are we solving for the donors in a way that's unique from everybody else that's doing it? That was a different way of thinking when it comes to, problem and solutions and customer discovery. And I think walking through that process with Boyd, just all those categories that he always, that he's had us fill out. And I'm in the process of doing that again with some other stuff right now. But I think going through that process kind of gave me a lot more confidence. And then when I was rejected, I remember those 12 years of, being questioned by people. Is this, if we give our money to this organization, is he really going to do what he says he's going to do with it? Because we don't know if we trust him like that. And obviously 5-6 years later, after the King's Canvas, it's kind of flourished a little bit, because of that. That rejection and the experiences that I had with the previous organization that I worked for, I think it prepared me for that. As far as family, you mentioned family. I had to support a family, like not just financially given to the organization, but just the moral support. You grow up hearing you can do anything you want to do, and I actually believed it. And so that's where the support came in. I don't know what else you said, but I'm gonna pass it along.
No, that's good. Oh, let me highlight something. So I know I spoke about us going through the class with Boyd, but what he would teach us, or what he would use, is this lean startup approach to business, and he would use a lean canvas, and in that canvas, what King made reference to is your customer identifying. I can't remember. Y'all may be able to pull from it a little quicker, but there was like customer problem solution,
customer problem solution, MVP, which is minimum viable product, UVP, which was unique value proposition. That's how your solution to your solution for the customers is unique from what he calls the existing alternatives. And existing alternatives would be looked at as competitors to some people, but I guess we would say your customers are your customers and they are no competitors. And outside of that, it was the whole cost and revenue part, key metrics. He don't do that anymore. Yeah, but it was, and that was one of my favorite ones. But he doesn't do that in the introductory class anymore. But yeah,
Gotcha. Okay, that's good. That's important. That's important. Why? Because when all of us were in that class and we was forming what we have today, we had to go through, we were really intentional about like investing in preparing ourselves as entrepreneurs. And while we thought this beautiful thing that we did and we were passionate about was cool to do and that we could do it, going through that class really kind of helped us narrow in what it is that we're doing. Not in a long, descriptive business plan, but just in just real easy, tangible one-sheeter that says, here's how I'm serving, here's who I am. And then that kind of helps shape what it is that you do and how you do it. And so that's where that was. Monique?
So for me,
Alanna, I said I was gonna do this,
so for me, I grew up as an only child. So basically doing things primarily on my own or as a solopreneur was kind of innate for me. As far as obstacles and the difficulties, being a Black woman in tech for more than 25 years, it will thicken your skin right up. Just because you're a double minority. You have to deal with stuff as a woman and as a Black woman. So I had to interact with that daily for more than 25 years. So when I got into this field as a culinary artist, for me, and I literally still deal with it almost on a daily basis, just from people that want good food. Literally, I had someone come to me 2 weeks ago and say, "Hey, what's your food score? Can we come look at your kitchen?" Whereas if my skin had not been this color, I doubt if they would have done that. So it's kind of like you have your stuff together and you say, "Okay, come look at my kitchen. I am not ashamed of my kitchen. My kitchen is clean. My health score proves it." So you do what you must in order to operate within the space that you would like to operate, but at the same time, you know what you need to do and you focus on what you need to do. And I mean, like you said, we've been friends since we were 12. So running Pure Artistry, even in that space, because there are other things that will pop up. People will, what's the quote from the play? Imitation, what is it?
Imitation is the greatest form of flattery.
Yes, that. So imitation is the greatest form of flattery. So once we started Pure Artistry, all of these shows started popping up that were doing very similar things. So we just kind of took it in stride and just let it do what it do. And naturally, people gravitated to what was the better product or better service. So you do what you want to do and you focus on who you are and let people judge. Let them decide which one they prefer. And same thing goes, like when we stopped doing Art and Soul and we transitioned Pure Artistry Literary Cafe into Pure Artistry Community Outreach. So now we're doing more community-based things that will encompass needs that are on the West Side, but also incorporate that cultural aspect as well. So I think they all those things kind of work hand in hand. You have to stay focused on who you are, stay true to who you are, but at the same time recognize those obstacles will come, but you just have to be prepared for them.
Absolutely. And just elevate something that you mentioned, and also King mentioned, was about like not having the opportunity to have second chances almost. Mm-hmm. You know, we have to come out the gate like hitting all the checkpoints, or sometimes we're not taken serious, or you know, we're doubted, or there's questions, so we always have to like make sure.
Right.
So yeah, that certainly is something.
One thing that kind of piggyback on that is a lot of times you have to learn your art, you have to learn your business, so you can learn how to work around those things that are designed to work against you. And still stay within the guidelines, but you know your path. That way you can navigate it.
When you say learn your business, what do you mean?
And because food is my business, I had to learn, okay, if you do not have a commercial kitchen, what can you do and still be in food, but you can still follow the rules, the guidelines, all of those things. So as a private chef, I went into other people's houses to cook. I didn't have to cook from a space and then take food in. I cooked on site.
We call that innovation, ladies and gentlemen.
No, I mean, you literally have to learn what the rules and guidelines are in your industry so you can stay within those guidelines and still accomplish those things that you're looking to accomplish.
Yeah, and sometimes even in that, you kind of create a new path that somebody else may be able to kind of
very true
follow.
Yes,
you know, and that new path could be, like you said, just born out of the fact of an obstacle, and you figuring out how to navigate around that. You create that new means of
new revenue stream,
new business, all that stuff. What about you, T? I know you ain't had no rejection. You just
man,
came
please. Man, look, when you asked the question, the only thing I could think about was my time at Alabama State University. And, while I was there, I joined quite a few organizations. And some of those organizations had processes. Mm-hmm. And I learned in those processes that, it's something powerful in showing up every day. And then you keep showing up every day. When you get to the end, like, you're stronger than what you were when you started, and you're more valuable to your community. So those things kind of stayed with me. And like, once I got in business, like, you know, when I first started my band, like, I think I experienced like losing my entire band, and I kept showing up, and like, I was calling people from Birmingham. You kept going, and then next thing you know, once you make it through a rough patch, like, you're better. And so that's just a principle in life together. You know, I teach it to my kids. You're going through something hard, show up every day and do the work. Perseverance will take you there. So in business, you know, whenever I go through those things, man, show up every day.
Awesome. All right, so let's see here. One more for Brother Boyd. There's a lot of talk around the city, region, state, about the fact that startup founders need more access to capital, i.e. grants, loans, venture capital, angel investment. Do you believe that this is the case, or is the thing that startup founders actually need is paying customers? Credit card swiping, check writing, crypto transferring, paying customers.
I think that's a loaded question from Brother Boyd. Just because I see the benefit in both. What I can say is that paying customers, that's the lifeblood. I mean, that's where your business grows. But when you're starting from nothing, before you have a business license, you gotta get to the point where you can buy your business license. And it's frowned upon if you're selling stuff and you don't have a business license and you don't collect and pay sales tax. So it's kind of a loaded question, because the grants and that seed money can help you get those things, but it's the customers that are going to keep you going. And I see the benefit in both, honestly. As a growing business, grants are useful, because now that you have paying customers, you still have to scale up. And it's difficult to scale when, like, for me, I can only use me as an example. I work my business full time. I don't have another source of income. So not only do I have to pay myself, I have to pay anybody that I hire, but I also have to utilize the income from my business to buy supplies. So customers don't always provide enough income when you're in the process of scaling. Sometimes the seed money, the grant funds, all of that, even the capital, the loans and investors, all of that helps. So it really just depends, and you have to figure out what works best for your situation.
I think for visual artists, it may be slightly different, because we could, you know, we can get customers if we draw, paint something, do digital art, whatever the case is, and collect retainers or deposits on the front end. We could, you know, take that same image, take a high-res photo, get a few printed off for a couple of dollars a sheet, sometimes less, and you know, and mark that up, you know, and sell it for $20, $25. And so I think, in that case, I think paying customers when it comes to visual artists are very important, unless you're in a situation where you have a patron. But even then, people are still paying on the front end, you know, for your craft and for you to scale your visual art business or whatever you have going on. But but I've seen, outside of just working, you know, with canvases or using some sort of substrate that you're painting on or drawing on or whatever, I've seen people open up like clothing businesses, utilizing their art with that. And I do think if potential investors see that you have customers, they can use that as an opportunity to invest in that, knowing that people are probably going to buy your merch. You know, but I know the merch game is, you know, can be pretty strong depending on how your following looks, though. So my answer is paying customers mainly with the visual artists.
Gotcha.
You know,
Gotcha.
yeah.
That makes sense. What about you, T?
It's the question was, you need paying customers or seed money?
Yeah, venture capitalists or
Yeah. So I think early on you need to prove to the venture capitalists that you have something worthy of seed money. So I say start with the customers, because nobody's going to give you money if you haven't first invested in the work, doing the work, produced a need in the community. Then the seed money will come. You guys, what's up, Zeph? Welcome to the panel, Zeph.
Just a little behind. Had a family emergency to take care of, but everything is good.
No worries.
Glad to be here. Of course, I know y'all did a lot of introductions.
Yes.
To the question, could you repeat that one more time?
Yeah. So the question was, startup founders, do they need access to capital, i.e., grants, loans, angel investment, or do what they really need is paying customers?
I would argue the paying customer, but I'd also argue the other side as well, because it's a little bit of twofold, but it depends on what's your pathway, what's your approach to how you're then going to execute the things you need to get done. Paying customers, to what T just said, all about proving to the venture capitalist, proving to whomever is going to be the grant donor or the loan officer, whomever, right, that you have a working foundation, a basis where we understand that we'll get our investment back. That's a whole separate thing, but ultimately it does come to the point of proving the concept. None of us would be here if we had not proven the concept first. And the biggest thing that I always tell people is go out and attempt to do all that you can before someone else drops a penny, a dime, whatever that is. Because if you don't believe in yourself enough, there's no chance that anybody else is. So ultimately, yes, a paying customer is immediate proof, right? I would argue if you have the paying customer first, that it makes the most sense for someone else to then give you dollar, because they know where, or I guess from the loan or the venture capital space, right, or the patron space, whomever, right, that they would be calmer, safer, whatever the terms are, to giving you that money, because they've seen the execution that you've already done. So yeah, I'd follow. But again, it depends on what level you're at and what pathway you're seeking, because ultimately, again, the execution, and I'm aware because I've been in both spaces where the customers fueled all of my equipment, but also the way that I initially was able to do that was I had people invest in me because I had a solid plan, I had a belief, this thing is gonna happen whether you give it to me or not, but if I have your help, it expedites the process. So I would think of the money in that capacity as a mentor in a sense, right? Somebody that's going ahead and showing you the ropes, locking you into their system, and with that dollar, it allows you to execute a lot faster. So,
Absolutely.
But similar, yeah. Just depends on the path.
And I think, and definitely, I think in either case, when it's time to scale up, that investment is helpful. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah. So my name is Zeph Jones. I am the owner-operator of Think All Be All Creative Arts Incubator. I do everything from live performance to instruction. I'm the artist in residence and the organization in residence here at the Learning Arts Center at the Armory. I'm a musician by trade. My background is in psychology and leadership development, and so I spend a lot of time with the individuals that I work with, developing them from the standpoint of this is my idea to here's how we get in contact and connection with those that can make it possible, i.e. your customer, and then on to your mentor. So these people on the panel and a lot of other great leaders in the spaces.
Awesome. All right, so how do you strike the balance between maintaining your artistic integrity and making commercially viable decisions?
Who want to answer that one first?
Say that again.
Okay. So how do you strike a balance between maintaining your artistic integrity and making commercial viable decisions? Like, have there been times that you've compromised one or the other? So balancing the creativity versus the commerce.
Yeah. So I remember back in 2000 and what was that? When did the Crest open? Was that 2017? They had the the Crest wasn't fully open in.
2017, because that was the same year I opened.
Okay. So they had the holiday market over there.
Okay.
And so and you know, and prior to that, any artwork I created, it was gonna always have like this social justice slant to it. I still love to do that type of work, thinking about what's going on in our city, state, and our nation, our world, and trying to figure out how to create art that would allow me to have conversations with people that I probably would not be able to have with them if it had not been for me interpreting that artwork, right? Because it'll probably get a little bit, you know, probably be some tension if we just kind of discussing these topics as opposed to, you know, creating, you know, interpreting the artwork. That art kind of gives us a common ground. So that was one type of art that I did. Other than that, it was just other beautiful stuff centered around black people that I would do. But this one particular time, I needed to make some extra money. There was a friend at my house, and she said, Kevin, you know, if you're going to that holiday market, you know, it's going to be diverse. And she was white.
Yeah.
And she said, this is the type of stuff that white people like.
What?
She was like, because you have your customers,
Okay.
but if you want to make more money, we like...
Santa Claus?
No, I ain't painting on Santa Claus. I did not paint Santa Claus.
Reindeer?
I did not.
That was
But this is what I did. I would have around this time. But she said, look, in your color palette, you need a bunch of jades, teals, or beiges. Now, this is a white lady telling me this now. You can call it stereotypical, but it was her that was telling me that.
Yeah.
I needed to make $1,000 quick,
Yeah.
and it snowed. I don't know if you remember. You remember the Roseman icing?
We was talking about that.
Man, we didn't know it was gonna open, but people came out. Look, and I just shook my head, and I went to my boy Pastor CJ, who had a warehouse, and he had all of this wood that he wasn't gonna use. You bought two of them. And so I did crazy stuff like painted. You know, she gave me all of these weird sayings. On some of them, I put coffee time. What did yours say? Joy. I just did all kind of weird stuff, and I painted it, I distressed it a little bit, and I took a paint marker and wrote on it.
That's good.
And I don't know how long the holiday market lasted each day.
It wasn't long.
It wasn't long, but I made $1,000
Yeah.
off of that.
Yeah.
And I looked at it, you can call it capitalism, I don't know, but as an entrepreneur, you know, and one artist walked up to me and she just shook her head. And I said, you know, I got to do what I got to do. And she said, Kevin, and she laughed. She said, it's all right. We sell out sometimes.
Like, yeah, I actually am. This is the goal, to sell out of everything that I made.
And you know, and my thing was, well, if I don't do this to make no money for my household, somebody else is gonna do it. But that right there, because I think at that time I was taking boys' class already, and the information that she was giving me, I was collecting data, like he teaches us to do, right? And this young lady, I think she even sent people there, and I kind of looked at her as what we call a channel, because she sent people to us. We sold stuff. I think she even showed up maybe, and I was just kind of taking the stuff that I learned, but I wouldn't have normally have done that, you know, if it had not been for needing that money real quick, but kind of learning the stuff that I was learning in Boys Accelerated class during that time. And I think it was at that moment when I said, you know what, if it's this easy to make money like this, you know, just kind of appealing to people that walk in, and this is something that they can just pay $10, $15, $20 for. And I sold a bunch of them too. I had like tubs of them. And I said, what if I can teach other people how to do this? And at that moment, the King's Canvas was birthed. It was at that moment I was like, man, how could I I can do this as a full-time artist because I was selling artwork.
Yeah.
But I said, man, what if I could actually teach other people that you don't have to be starving as a visual artist?
Yeah.
And that was December. And I think probably that March of 2018, 3 months later, I had my 501c3 and I started the King's Canvas. Yeah. So.
So to piggyback off of what Kevin said, I was at that market. That was my first market as Alanna's Gourmet. That was my first event. And
You had the spoons.
I had chocolate spoons. Y'all, I kid you not. I made $700 at that market. Like, I had
Spoons?
chocolate spoons, chocolate dipped pretzels.
I remember that.
I mean, it wasn't like big stuff.
Yeah, it's just holiday themed things.
Oh.
That's why Christmas so doggone. What? I used to
Yes,
love
we had to
Christmas on the other
explain how
side.
to use chocolate spoons to some, but it's okay. You eat it however you like. But literally, that's what I did. I mean, that was my very first event as Alanna's Gourmet. That was the year I opened Alanna's Gourmet. So that was, for me, it was out of necessity. I had been laid off of a IT contracting job, and I didn't want to go back to IT. So I was like, hey, we're going to use this culinary arts degree, and we're going to make it work.
Yeah.
So it's just out of necessity we do some things. So I think for me, like dipping chocolate spoons is not ideal. If I need to sell them, I will, but that's not what I'm gonna do on a daily basis. However, I did bring some things back to the farmer's market because we're up at the farmer's market now. Early on, I was doing dipped marshmallows. They take a lot of time, but at the same time, my customers wanted them back. So you do what you have to do. As far as what you sacrifice, one of the things that I'm in the process of scaling are two things, my spice blends and some of my desserts. So it's been a process of identifying how to source things, how to identify co-packers or other organizations that can make those things at a commercial scale that I cannot, and then also being able to keep my price point reasonable to where I can buy ingredients or supplies at a wholesale rate that's still comparable, so you don't compromise the quality of what you do, but you still have the volume that you'd like to, or that you have the potential to reach that volume.
Yeah, I learned early that as an artist, sometimes we tend to push our art preference on our audience and our consumer. And you got to realize, your taste is probably so far in the future of where your community is. And, when I first started my band, we used to try to do my most favorite underground neo-soul song. And in the middle of Igor's, people would just be like, okay. And it did me good, but at the end of the day, they want what's on Hot 105, what resonates with them. And look, the gigs will come after that. Another example, playing for church. You can go in trying to teach, Richard Smallwood Total Praise if you want to in 2000. You better teach them Lee Williams and see what kind of energy spreads throughout the church. So it's like being smart enough to know who you're servicing, will help out. And I always use this analogy. If you're feeding a room full of people in Montgomery, Alabama, you can serve sushi, but put some lemon pepper wings out there. You're going to see a difference in the reaction. All right, that's it.
I mean, yeah. Yeah. No.
That was a real example.
That's true for like everything, but T and I being the musicians on the panel, like that, really don't get no better said than that because ultimately. So here's the thing about every other art form minus culinary arts, right? Actually, no. What I'm about to say will include culinary arts. Revise how I thought about this. As a visual artist, as a painter, as a, someone takes a pencil, right? You have all the opportunity to sit at the house, workshop this thing, put it out, disappear. You don't ever have to get the immediate feedback unless you're there. As a musician or someone that's catering, if you're out there, if you're actually serving, you see immediately the feedback, and you'll know right then and there whether your job has successfully been done or not. So for us, I would say the balance between doing something that's commercial versus doing what we want to do has everything to do with, first of all, did we come out here to serve the community that is before us, the audience? Did we get paid for this event? Did they ask for us to do specific somethings, right? Like, cater to that first and build your audience, build your crowd. And that goes back to the first question that I came in on, right? About your customer base, right? Prove that you can do that. Show them that there's merit and you understand how to service and you know what your demographic is. And then you can warrant those, because you'll 10,000 to 1,000 to 100 to 10, right? And you'll know exactly who in your group is the one that wants the thing that you want to do most. I'm a Latin and jazz musician. I still get out here and play country funk. That's not my specialty, right? Yeah. But I know that that's what they want to hear. Yeah. And so I should be skilled enough in that space, in that atmosphere, to be able to give them that, and they have the same joy and amount of pleasure from this music that I would have if I was playing Latin and jazz music. Right? So if I've not communicated that, then ultimately, from my position, I'm telling you that I don't care about you. And that's not why I do this, right? You serve the people because you care about them and you're solving a problem for them, right? They wanted to come out, be entertained. So my thoughts about balancing that is, if I serve you, you'll allow me the opportunity to show you the things that I genuinely want to do. And the dollar follows that. Yeah. It ultimately will. So that's where I am.
That's real good. That's real good. I'm going to open it up for a question before I dive back into mine. Do we have any questions from the audience? No pressure. All right. Okay. Give an opportunity. He said, I do not.
I know Tony has one. She does.
Okay, go ahead.
When did you realize that it was time to follow your passion as opposed to what you were academically trained to do?
The question was, when did you decide to follow your passion versus what you were academically trained to do?
So for me, I'm academically trained for both. I do have a degree in computer science with a specialization in software development from Alabama Agricultural and Mechanical University.
Where I send all my money to.
Go
okay,
Bulldogs.
Yeah, all right.
I am also classically trained from Le Cordon Bleu. So I have a degree in both culinary arts and computer science. I started writing software when I was 16 years old. I stopped writing software in 2017. That was with my last job as a contractor here in Montgomery. And I realized it was time for me to stop doing that because there was absolutely no reason for me to not like my job, but I was miserable every day I went to work. Like, I was almost in tears from my house to my office every day for no reason at all other than the fact that I did not want to go. It was time. And I wrote software for 25 years. It was time. And the day I decided to start Alanna's Gourmet, it was like it was written in stone. We plowing through concrete walls if we have to. It's gonna work. It has to work. Like, this is what I want to do. And you can ask Kalonji and T. Erica tried hard to get me to cook for Art and Soul, and I would not do it. I mean, I was all tech. That's what I was doing. And when it was time for me to move into the world of culinary arts, I did it with ease. Like, there was no problem. And it's been all gas ever since then. So.
I think I've had a few different passions. I've lived a few passions, and I have some more coming. But I think initially, working in UPS's plant engineering department, I remember leaving that and helping start or actually working for the previous nonprofit, Common Ground Montgomery, on the west side. So I think that was first. I realized I don't want to be in polo shirt and khakis, even though I have on, khaki shorts right now. This is not a polo shirt. This shirt has buttons from the top to the bottom. So I started to wear one though. I'm glad I didn't. But I realized I didn't want to be in polo shirts and khakis and sitting behind a desk every day behind a computer. That was just boring. And at the time, I started working with the men at Friendship Mission and on Mobile Road at the time. And I realized that I love West Montgomery because it reminds me of sections of Mobile that I used to hang out with where I'm from. And so I just, left UPS to do that. But then as far as the art thing, my wife at the time bought me some art supplies and encouraged me to do it. And I did it and got into it. And now I'm moving more towards trying to do more art full time because I run an organization. I don't have a chance to create like I want to. So, but that's a story for another day.
The 2 times I've tried to work a job as an adult, like I wait, the universe snatches me out. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, one of them, they kicked me out. The universe kicked me out. But no, when I first graduated with my degree, like Ruben won American Idol, and so it was like he needed a background vocalist. Went out. I used as many of my sick days as I could, and after a while, it was like, look, you want to stay here and teach these kids every day, or travel the world? And then, and so after that, I tried it again, and that's when the universe kicked me out, like, cause I was enjoying like making that money in Pike Road and gigging on the weekends. I thought I was rich, and then they kicked me out, and it really forced me. I was like, man, I don't have to be a teacher to be an educator, and so got my own building. We've been doing MEOW ever since.
Well, before you got the building, it was MEOW was music education on wheels.
On wheels, yeah. We were at Katoma Elementary. We did after school program for 2 years. Yep. You know something, boy.
What? You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, actually, as I think about that a little bit deeper, I've kind of always been in both what my degree is and functionally not in what my degree is. My degree is, well, when I tell it to you, it's gonna sound kind of out there. It is psychology with a minor in music performance and fine arts, and a concentration in leadership development. And had I stayed one more semester, would have been in human resources.
Okay.
So and this is why I say kind of in and always kind of out. I've always looked at, and I don't know where this came from, so I can't answer that question for you. But I've always looked at things as what's gonna allow me the most capacity to learn and share the stuff that I'm learning right now, right? So like, even though I'm the youngest in the group, like all the stuff that they're saying are things that I've learned and be like, hey, next person, this. And then I go listen to y'all and go, I was right. So I guarantee somebody else is gonna repeat something that they heard from this and nowhere in this area. But it has always been about what can I share now? Because if something happens to me in the next 2 seconds, at least I did my part to do that. So whether it was being in retail, which I really enjoy retail, I've been a manager at pretty much every thing that I've done, and I find that it always brings me back to music, though, because I have to serve my people in this space, and I have to ultimately work with, my staff or whomever it's going to be the same way that I would work with musicians, the same way that we have to dedicate our time and energy to the crowd, right, the audience, to get the response and serve them the way that we need to. And so I think I've always been like this. No matter where I go, it's the same thing. Whether you want me there or not, it's going to be like that. And it's because, again, it's about the people. Every job that I've had, again, being a manager, there's only a few more steps after that. And it's like, I really don't want to do that. Because then somebody else gets to decide how I learn the next sets of things. And I don't like that. I have a real hard time with someone telling me this is exactly what you need to know and you cannot change the objective. So even when I did my leadership development stuff, I was a student at Troy teaching, quote unquote, in the leadership development department at the same time. Because I was like, yeah, no, we've been doing this like this. Let's change it to that and see what happens. And that's actually some of the stuff that they use now. So again, I just kind of have always done it.
Yeah. That's good. All right.
I'm very impressed with Zeph. This
Yeah.
is my first time being able to just listen to your mind. I'm very impressed.
It's always in passing. Everybody gigging.
Yeah. That's good. All right. So I'm gonna ask maybe one or two more questions and we'll close out in the interest of time. Where I wanted to go. Let's see. In what ways does the cultural identity of Montgomery shape your artistic expression and business strategies? Do you find that your Southern roots influence the way that you connect with your audience?
Yes.
Okay. He was ready for that one. Yes, he brought that
Yes.
one up.
Definitely, because one of the things that I can say is that a lot of my customers are tour groups. So I feed a lot of tourists. And primarily, when people come to the South, they want Southern food. So a lot of people, first they ask me, where are you from? I'm from Montgomery. Well, what dishes can you prepare? I can prepare whatever you like. I'm classically trained. I can make it happen. But if you want smothered pork chops and collard greens with buttermilk cornbread, I can do that too.
There we go. Now we're talking.
So
We're not the pork chops. I'm sorry. Buttermilk cornbread. Keep going.
So I think culturally, I'm from Montgomery. I'm about as Southern as you can get. My favorite thing in the world is stone ground grits.
Me too.
But you got to know what you're doing because you can mess them up. For me, cultural identity plays a huge part. And I say that just for that reason. We encounter a lot of tourists and as well as locals. People will ask, well, because at the market I have my degree hanging up and a lot of people are like, okay, well, you graduated from the Cordon Bleu. Where are you from? I'm like, I'm from Montgomery. So not implying that everybody from Montgomery can cook well, but at the same time, I accept my Southern roots. I love my Southern roots. I grew up with farm fresh food. That's why I don't like anything that comes out of a can, so I'm not likely to feed people something that came out of a can. And that goes back to like commercially prepared stuff. Freshness matters for me. So that's a part of my cultural identity. But yeah.
Repeat the question.
Okay, hold on. Let's see. In what ways does cultural identity of Montgomery or Alabama, Mobile, either way, shape your artistic expression or your business strategies?
All right. I think that one. Okay. All right. So that was a time when going through the class, I was trying to figure out how to reach certain customers, and you mentioned tourism. And I noticed that I was painting all of this stuff, and sometimes if it's too controversial, people probably won't buy it. They probably don't want to buy prints. Well, I'll take that back because eventually people did buy all of it. But initially, I got some good responses from it, but that's not really what was selling. Eventually, it did start selling, but I asked the question, when you have people who are coming from out of town to Montgomery as tourists, what are the things that they want to purchase and take back with them to say, I've been to Montgomery? And I think we as a city, we have, we're going through an identity crisis because you have, maybe one camp who says, let's get past the civil rights narrative, but how can we? We right in front of the fountain where our ancestors were sold.
You think that's still the case? You think there's still that crisis? There's still they ain't gave up. The folk ain't gave up. Okay. All right. Keep
And
going.
so, but the question is, how do we embrace our cultural identity? How we embrace our history? But how do we use that to kind of propel us into the future to figure out like where we headed? Because that's what we've always been. And so I think, in my art, I do simple stuff like I paint the fountain. I've done that and I sell prints of it. Dr. King's church, when I was making prints, I couldn't keep them. Like anything that was related to Montgomery, on the surface, it's like, okay, these are the landmarks that I see, but these landmarks, are significant as it relates to, our cultural identity. And people who are coming into town kind of understood that, that in a deeper way because they, back when Wonder Battle was doing the tours at Dexter Memorial, at King Memorial on Dexter, they would go and they would hit a store. They would hold hands with her. They would sing. But, when it came time to buy, some artwork, it's like, okay, I'm going to buy this print that Kevin did of Dr. King's church because this is what it means to me. And so I think for me, I was kind of, as an artist and I guess entrepreneur, kind of appealing to that in a sense. Just that cultural identity, embracing that cultural identity apologetically and creating artwork that represented that because, customers was buying it. So I guess that's a simple way to answer it. I don't know.
I think for me, because I'm originally from Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where I was born in hot desert.
You graduated from what high school?
I graduated from BTW Magna High School
All
here.
right, okay. At least I know I ain't tripping.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
So born in Phoenix, lived on a military base, Camp Pendleton in California.
Okay.
My dad's family is from here. Obviously, my mom's family is from there. And I had no thought process about Alabama yet. Didn't even know that was a place yet. Let alone Montgomery of all the places. Ended up moving here, don't even remember when, been back and forth, whatever. So for me, having been injected into Montgomery's culture, but also being from somewhere else and seeing the variety that exists, I've always wanted to offer what I had, which was a channel or a pathway between the two, wherever you are and coming here. So when I think about even like the busking program and stuff that I'm working on, or me being an artist in residence at the Armory, it's what do we have, what are you trying to express, and how do we show our local people that this is something that's new to you, right? You may not have come across that. Or this thing has always been here, you just were unaware because you had not interacted with that channel, that pathway yet. The same being for those that come out of state into it. These are all the wonderful, diverse things that exist. Food, music, art, whatever, right? Technology, all this. Obviously, like, there's so much to be done in this space. can we open up a pathway for it? So yes, there certainly is a identity crisis, but it's also because we hadn't figured out as a unit across all the platforms how to interact with each other. So like you said, everybody is in their separate little things. And we've all had that conversation about just the age group, right? How y'all are my OGs, right? I study y'all, whether you know it or not. Like I actively watch what you're doing and go, that worked. That one don't work for me. At least not yet, right? Because positioning is also a thing. And so when I think about my position being here, it's what can I offer? Who am I in a sense of my ability to learn what Montgomery is, and my ability to share that with the next person, whether it's somebody that's actually from here or somebody that's, again, is out of town, out of state, whatever. So yeah, I don't know. I'm a little in between on both of those, again, because I got perspectives from not actively being from here, but then also spending so much of my life here. Like I graduated from Troy, so I've been here, right? I know all the things. I've had all the same experiences. Actually, funny story, and I just want to put this out here. I'm one of the last group of kids from something that should not have happened, but I picked cotton.
Damn. Wait. What? How? What?
On a school field trip, I picked cotton. I was on one of those agricultural enrichment field trips.
I heard about that.
Yes, I'm like the last of that. So when I say I've had the experience, I mean the burlap bag go out there. I'm thinking it's a game. Never picked cotton before. Little lowly me. It's tough, but my skin tough, right? I'm out here playing in dirt and rocks. You don't get no tougher than that. So it's a thing. But to have had that experience and to be able to tell what that was and then push people towards, we're not there anymore, but this is what we're doing. We got all, like, this looked like it's always been here. This gallery is brand new. But how do we get people into that space? Oh, well, hey, Zeph, what's new? What's cool? That. So, yeah, that's where I am.
And we'll pick up that conversation after we offline. I gotta remember the context of why we're here. Okay.
So you've been asking us questions. I have a question for you.
Okay.
I know, I think it was junior high when you did your first play with Miss Provett.
Yeah.
What sparked the continued interest in the arts? Like, I know about Miss Provett. I know I asked you to host Art and Soul, but aside from those two things, what kind of lit that flame for you in the arts?
It was my love in it was my love for television. More specifically, I was really entertained by In Living Color and all of those skits. You may not remember, but that was actually like the skit that me and Damon did. We did like men in film.
I remember.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we did. We did that.
How did it go? How did y'all?
We
bad.
did.
It was bad.
We did it just like it.
What you do, bro? Let's see.
I'm not finna demonstrate.
Oh,
I know it's what you.
He said, you got a bandana.
Show us what that looked like. No, I'm not. Well, we did men on film, but it was television. I mean, I fell in love with music first, but it was in living color and watching TV and having that opportunity for her to take us in, because we were all knuckleheads. We was into everything. So allow her to pull us in there and allow us to be creative with whatever it is that we wanted to tell, she allowed us to tell that story, act and direct, you know, write and do all of those things. And then so to be able to like see something and then being offered the opportunity to get up there and perform it was I don't know. That feeling was always like, oh, that's amazing. And to this day, I'm always like nervous when like I hit a switch and I kind of zone out, but I was nervous doing it, but like the feeling and accomplishment of it, you know, stayed with me. And then from that point on, it was just like, I want to do it again. I want to storytell. I want to do what I was seeing on television. And so, yeah, that was it.
Okay, one last question.
Okay.
So Tony's question, I know that you recently transitioned
Yeah.
from corporate America into entrepreneurship. How did you know it was time?
I was being very strategic, of course, as an adult and with responsibilities. It was time when I started running out of vacation days. I was really intentional about when I started the business, started really focusing on it was back in 2000, 2020, not 2000, 2020 during COVID. And started through meeting a need, which was then we were virtualizing everything, so that allowed me to kind of bring my footprint, my tech, and my media love, my tech skill and my media love to kind of launching the business. And we started that. We did tease events, virtualize them. Me and this guy here, Shooter, just help, just start creating. And then from, I think it was, so that was 2020, about 2021. 2022, we started to pick up this. There's still things that was virtualized in 2021, but then about 2022 was when I started doing more business, picking up clients, doing smaller gigs, and it picked up speed. It kind of doubled, like every year it doubled. Like it was like, okay, all right. And so 2023, I was real intentional about when I went into it. I was like, okay, let me see how much of this I can do while I'm still working, and can it replace my salary? And so I leaned all the way into it. By this time, I had been with the company for 11 years, so I had like 3 weeks of vacation. So, you know, most of my gigs were on the weekend, but I would use all my vacation up gigging. And by the time I got to the end of the year, and then the other thing was, I made a decision that in 2024 I was going to do it before I even started 2023. So I was like, at the end of this, at the beginning of 2024, I'm going to do it. I'm going to jump. Now, I had a conversation with T. I had talked to my friends, and it was just like, all right. And so I was really intentional about running through 2023. And I said, ideally, for me to feel comfortable about making the leap, I would like to, ideally, I have a contract, at least something. Fourth quarter, I signed a contract, December. And so that was my affirmation, that it was time, that I did the work, that I had the faith, I did it, and then God dropped the contract in there to give me a little encouragement, and I just jumped on. I put that notice in after that, but it took, it was just the consistency. I think somebody mentioned this, but just like the continuously doing, keep showing up. Terrence mentioned that. To keep showing up, to keep doing. So I was just diligent about it. I just stayed laser focused on everything that I did. I put it right back in the company. I was just, my paycheck took care of the business, but every work that I did, I reinvest, and learned and practice, and then built strategic about websites and all that. I just did the business. I approached it the same way I did when I started 21. And then the business came, and I was prepared. Yep.
It's always good to be prepared. T
Always
told me I
good to
couldn't
be-
ask no more questions. So I'm done.
Well, that's it. So before we close out, because we're recording too, Zeph, I wanted you to talk a little bit about the busking opportunity, because this again is business and art and business is part of our art chat GPT series, and this is Black Business Month. All right, so let's talk about the opportunities that exist for artists through the busking program.
Yeah, so professionally, busking is the purest form of real raw performance that you'll ever get in your life. It is direct to the street. When I talked about that feedback before, this is more direct than that feedback. It is a wonderful experience if you have the gumption to go do it, the energy, the time to go do it. Well, really, you can do it at any time. And this is just context for what it is before I talk about the rest of it. But purely, it is performance now and now. As in, once you start, that's it, right? Whatever you put out there is what you put out there. So preferably, you want to go practice ahead of time. And that's available to musicians. It's available to visual artists. It's available to photographers, whatever, right? Filmmakers, the whole gambit of art, poetry, spoken word, because some people differentiate, other bodies of literature, right? It is street to people, direct to people. There is no filter between you and them. What you put out is what they receive, and what they give you back, let's hope it puts a tip in your jar, because that's ultimately what you're aiming to do. It's performance for tips, right? Or in our case, as we were operating the busking program, which I'm gonna tell you what it was before and direct you to where it's going, because things are changing.
And then give us the dumbed down version too, for those that's like, you ain't levitating.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So yeah, busking is street performance, of course. Performance for tips. If in Montgomery, since we have a busking ordinance, which thanks to Kevin, Kalonji, and a few other people, we were able to get that passed. That license is a year-long $25 license. Or there's a temporary license, which I don't even recommend getting that, because it'd just be worth your time to get the $25 one for the entire year. But that license grants you the opportunity to go out on the streets within Montgomery, excluding a few areas, and set up, perform, paint, do whatever, right? Whatever your art form is, and people will give you tips if they feel like your art is good enough. That's kind of how that works. It is purely based on you doing and being you. So you're an entertainer to the fullest in that capacity.
How many spots and spaces, like how does that work?
So as the busking program exists, there are 3 spaces. One right here by the Rosa Parks statue. There's one by, New South Bookstore? And then the other one is in the Biscuit Stadium roundabout area, right? Those 3 spots were designated through the city of Montgomery as revitalization zones. And so as a part of this program, it's get people in those spaces, activate them, give tourists opportunity to see live performance, get close and up front with the locals, see what art is there. If you're an artist, it's an opportunity to sell those pieces. If you're a musician, it's an opportunity to get booked by whomever, right? And it's every bit of we're giving you who we are right then and there. And so that's the cool part about the program. As the program is transitioning, there are a few things that within the city we're financially looking at, because there's a $100 incentive per hour at those locations. But since that was a pilot program, we're reviewing all the stats for that, and we're going to see what happens, whether it's going to continue in the fall, if we're just going to do a spring, or if it's however that's going to look. I'm not quite sure just yet, but working on that so that I can put out some better information.
Cool.
But in reference to just the busking in general, I also offer a lot of classes and some information about how to sign up for that. You can find that at thinkallbeall.com. Or if you go to my Instagram, which is also thinkallbeall, or Facebook, that information is there as well. You can also find me because there are a few signs dotted around that also have QR codes and phone numbers and the rest of that information that's there. So hit one of those, and I personally have walked everybody through that process from sign up to your first day as a busker.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate y'all. Appreciate our audience. Appreciate our folks that'll watch it digitally. That's it. Cool.